Abuse to women with Women Aware is what we're talking about today, but more specifically, the cycle of abuse with Allie, the director of Women Aware. Please note that today's show discusses a topic that can be sensitive. Abuse on women is a real subject. It's something that affects women every single day. We're embarking on a 3-part series on the abuse of women. The first episode is going to be, as I mentioned, the cycle of abuse. The second one will be about post-relationship healing. And our final episode is going to be about the dynamic between the two and how they are linked to the call to action. Have you been affected by a toxic relationship or have lived some kind of abuse? Or maybe you know someone who is living this kind of abuse. Well, this episode is definitely for you. Welcome aboard the podcast, A Woman's Spark with Shenik, a place to show women how powerful they are and remind them of the spark that they all carry. The strength that gets us up every single time, a place to feel seen and understood when we don't fully have what it takes to get back up on a hard day. This podcast is to help all women heal and become the best version of themselves during the roller coaster of life. We're building a community of women that wants to help one another and inspire each other to become stronger and more united as we were born to be. Today's episode is the first one of a series of 3 about abuse to women. We're going to have 3 different guests from the organization Women Aware. That organization is by women survivors helping other women survivors from abuse. Today, we're going to touch on the cycle of abuse. What does that mean? Do you feel stuck in a relationship and are wondering if what you're living is normal? Abuse is not always recognizable because we care and we love and we feel with the partner that we're in a relationship with. And often we put aside our needs and boundaries to fit the ones of the person we love. Here are 2 quick facts about female violence. Number 1, here are some numbers. On a global scale of violence against women, an estimated 736 million women, that's 1 in 3, are subjected to physical or sexual violence with their partner. At least once in their lifetime. That's huge. And this is 15 years and older. Secondly, who's at risk? Women and girls have a higher rate of being subjected to intimate partner violence than men. Indigenous women are at a considerably higher risk of violence and homicide than non-Indigenous women. And lastly, non-heterosexual women are more susceptible to sexual violence than heterosexual women. These numbers are extremely concerning and need to be talked about. As mentioned earlier on today's episode, we're going to have a survivor of abuse, a member of the Women Aware, an organization here in Montreal. We're speaking to Allie, the director of that organization. Their mission is to assist and empower survivors who have experienced or are experiencing intimate partner violence, which we can also call IPV, and improve their quality of life and affect their social change. You can also find them on www.womenaware.ca. Stay right here. We will welcome Allie after this short break. Welcome back to a Women's Spark podcast with Shenik. Today on a Women's Spark podcast, we're going to be welcoming Allie, the director of Women Aware. She's herself a survivor of IPV and is a key member of a Women Aware that helps other women. Please welcome our Spark of the Day, Allie. Hi, Allie.
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you for coming on board. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the invite.
We're going to have a 3-part podcast with you and 2 other members of your team who work at Women Aware, which we'll talk about very shortly. But I want to start by asking you, can you tell us a little bit about what is the cycle of abuse on women?
Yes. So the cycle of abuse goes into 4 different phases. And there's a debate of when we kind of search it, what is the first stage? But I would like to start with the stage that's called the honeymoon or love bombing. And that's usually the first stage. And when things are, on cloud 9, everything is great, when it's too good to be true. And that's where the hook starts. They show you the best of their quality. And this honeymoon phase could last, honestly, like it could last a few weeks, could last months, could last years. So
Wow.
a lot of people can be surprised that in the beginning of a relationship, it's not abusive for first few years, and then it turns. And that's not abnormal. The honeymoon phase doesn't have a specific period. It can go on for a very long time. After the honeymoon phase, there will be uh, tension building. You'll feel it. You'll feel some tension building, stress. Your nervous system is kind of, up and down. You're walking on eggshell. And then the third one is the abuse or the incident. So this could be anything from physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, whatever that incident that will cause harm to the survivor.
Okay.
And once that's done, the last uh, phase is the reconciliation. It's when the promises are being made, the apologies, the crying, maybe the explanation and excuse, or the blame that they put on the survivors that this happened because you annoyed me or because you didn't listen.
Uh-huh.
And maybe they'll offer gifts. And then it continues to starts again the honeymoon phase, the love bombing, and
Okay.
returns. That's the cycle. And the
Okay.
time where it's kind of important, where it's the most time that the survivor can leave, um, it's it's between the third and the fourth, the reconciliation and the honeymoon phase, because when we're at the reconciliation, the survivor, maybe not the first time, but after a while, they start realizing the pattern. The survivor is not
Uh-huh.
not realizing it; they're realizing it, and that's the time where they're most likely to leave.
Is there a way for a survivor to not become a survivor and see it coming even quicker than before the abuse?
I don't want to say no, because there are people who are able to leave a toxic relationship before it turns into an abusive one, and not every toxic turns into abusive, but I don't want to say yes at the same time because the cycle of abuse is very subtle, very, very subtle. It only
Okay.
becomes explosive and very like there in your face when you're already kind of in the middle of it, when it's already too late to do prevention in the sense like, oh, to make it like you can prevent it from continuing by leaving or doing other things. You don't have to leave to prevent it from continuing. But from the get go, I believe it's really hard, at least in my case, in my personal experience.
Okay. Is there a type of person that becomes an abuser? Like if I think of a narcissist or is there a
Mm,
type?
not really. We
No.
all have this belief. It's like we have this narcissism automatically is a negative thing automatically. Obviously, everything to the extreme is negative. But the person that is abusive has nothing to do with their personal background, with the trauma they've been through. None of it. Sometimes it plays a factor, but it's not the reason. Or substance abuse. It is not the cause. The cause is that this person enjoys the power dynamic and the control that's happening in the relationship. So
Okay.
abusive relationship have an imbalance in the power. And that's the kind of person. So it's really an individualistic choice that they're making. Obviously, in the second part of this series, my colleague will talk about the systemic issues and all of that do play factor, but we don't want to take away the accountability of the individual that actually choosing consciously to do these things.
Okay. Do you want to tell us about your story, Allie?
Yes.
Because you've been a survivor of abuse
Mhm.
and it'll help people relate to what you've lived and maybe see themselves in that similar situation, but also understand the cycle of abuse. So, can you tell us your story,
Yeah.
Allie?
I think it's really important, and thank you for asking. I know not every survivor is comfortable with that, but this is why I joined Women Aware to find a community and to speak about my story, to find ways for survivors to feel they're not alone. And in my personal experience, it happened a long time ago. I'm 32 now. I was 19 at the time, and I met the
Okay.
person I was with. And um, what happened, the start of the honeymoon phase is what got me hooked. I was always getting my favorite drink, hot chocolate every night without, no matter how busy he is, he would come over to my parents' house, give me my drink. The 10 minutes, I cannot continue my day without you. I want to see you every day because I care about you. I love you. And I loved that. I loved that he couldn't continue his day without seeing me every day. I felt very important, felt very loved,
Oh,
um, and cared for. Then slowly it was, I love the way you dress, but I like it just to see it for me. So instead of wearing leggings in public, like wear sweatpants, and when you're with me, remove it because you're so sexy. I want it just from my eyes. And again, the way he was making it, I was just like very, um, I felt very loved, very desired, very needed. And when he starts showing a little bit of anger, sometimes when he was driving, I have the personality of calming people down. I know how to calm with love and affection and understanding. And
okay.
I do remember now that I think the moment where it clicked for him that I can continue this with this person because of how understanding and loving I am. And usually survivors are. Survivors are very, very loving people, very
Yes.
affectionate and very loving people. Um, and then it started like this. I was 19, like I said. Um, I wanted to wait till marriage for anything sexual that would happen. Beside making out, which everybody does it, but
Yeah.
I really wanted to wait till marriage. And he respected that at the beginning. He told me that it's okay with him. It doesn't matter. But then he started saying stuff like, I really love you and I would do anything for you. So if you love me, wouldn't you want to be intimate with me? That
Oh,
something like, continues the whole package?
yeah.
And he's like, we don't have to go all the way, just like little things here and there. And I was hesitant, because he said, would, if you love me, and I love him. And I didn't want to feel like I don't love him. So I was thinking, do I need to prove with that way? And he kept saying it often. And I started feeling very guilty. Um, and again, it's happening so subtly and so slowly. It doesn't happen in one day that I start thinking it's my fault. Like, oh, he really loves me. He's coming every day with my favorite chocolate. He's doing this for me. He's saying these things. The least I can do is show him love in his love language, which is physical touch.
Okay.
Um, so I said yes for a little something here, and I did it. I didn't feel very great about it because I know it wasn't exactly what I wanted for myself.
So you gave an
Um,
inch, and did you wanna take
exactly,
a mile?
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So my abuse was mainly sexual. It started with these things, but it got to the point where he felt comfortable to not listen to my no.
Okay. First of all, I'm really sorry you went through that.
Thank you.
Really sorry. It's not
Thank you.
okay. It's not
No.
okay for anyone to take, advantage of someone else and someone
Hmm.
else's goodness.
100%.
So mhm.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I, is it a collection of red flags, or should
Mhm.
someone stop at the first red flag?
You should. I would love to say you should stop at the first red flag. But reality is we're not going to stop at the first red flag because the first red flag is not going to be a big one. It's not going to be a big one where you have all of this goodness that's happening and there's like this little thing because nobody's perfect. That's the reality. Even in a healthy relationship, it's not a perfect relationship. So it's going to be hard to kind of distinct between, is this like a flaw that is fixable and we can talk about it and work? Or is where it's going to turn into abusive? And I think the
Mhm.
biggest thing, the biggest test you can do is boundary setting.
Okay.
So if you feel comfortable having your boundary expressed, if you believe and trust that they will respect it, and if they show you they would and they are respecting it, that's when you have kind of the green light to continue the relationship.
Okay.
In
And
abusive relationship, there's no boundaries.
there's no boundaries. No, definitely not, because you wanna fit into what that person's needs are, you wanna fit into their world because, as I said in the introduction, before we got together, is we love them, we care for them,
Yeah.
and we want them to love us back because we like the feeling that they bring in us.
Hmm.
So we make ourselves smaller
Exactly.
and lose our boundaries and
Mhm.
limitations to fit what we think is best for them, and we lose track of what is best for us.
Yeah. And that's not to say the
So
blame is on the survivor, but it is what happens because I always say
that's
this.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
always,
the person, the abuser is always providing a sense of possibility.
yeah, the
Oh, it's gonna get
potential.
better. The
Yeah.
potential, "Oh,
Potential.
I love you," and
Hmm.
providing a
Yep.
feeling that you don't wanna lose.
Exactly.
Now, you talked to earlier about signs and symptoms in your body. Can you develop on that? And what are the signs and symptoms that you're in a toxic relationship, an abusive relationship?
So something it's each person is different for sure and depend the physical the abuse that you're going through, but your gut feeling is screaming. The
Mhm.
problem is we're not listening to it because the abuser broke that in us, broke
Okay.
it completely so that we don't want to listen to it because we don't trust ourselves. Um, but a lot of physical health and emotional health can be affected. And when you are in a survival mode, and that's what you are in an abusive relationship, you don't see it. Unfortunately, the health implication happens after. The post separation is very, very difficult because you go through the healing of the abuse, but your
Mhm.
body's finally in a calm environment, calm in quote unquote,
Yeah.
that all the symptoms of health comes up. So there's a long lasting symptoms and health issues, obviously, yes. And some, unfortunately, in some ways, disability could be physical disability or otherwise. But PTSD is very common
Absolutely.
to
I mean,
survive.
because then your walls come back up. As soon as you feel something nice happen to you, you're worried that that person is gonna hurt you again. So
Yeah.
anything nice from a different person, that's PTSD.
Yeah.
You put your walls up and worry that it's gonna happen all over again.
Yeah. In my case, I wasn't able to be intimate with anybody after that relationship for years to go, and I purposely dated people who lived outside the city or outside the country so that this is not even like it's not even a conversation.
Okay.
And I didn't realize I was doing this, but I was doing it to protect myself. And when had my first relationship where I was intimate with this person in any way or form, it triggered so many things that I
Mhm.
wasn't aware that they will happen. So PTSD is very common and can be very subtle. So definitely it's a good thing to start therapy right after if you're not starting during the relationship. There's also the
Absolutely.
survivor guilt that you're feeling toward your post separation journey because you got out and you hear the
Mhm.
stories. Because once you leave and you find a community, you're going to start hearing more stories. And you're going to hear about femicide and how some people, unfortunately, didn't survive that relationship. And you feel the guilt. Oh, what I went through
Absolutely.
was not that bad,
We
you know?
always downplay what we're
Yeah.
living
Yeah.
because we don't know we deserve better,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely. Definitely.
Um, I'd like to ask you one last question before we take a quick break. You talked about speaking with a professional.
Mhm.
How did you get out of it, and who did you speak to, and when?
Mhm. So in my case, I was new to the country, so I really didn't know much. And I think that's another system failure that maybe my colleague will talk about. But I didn't have any resources that I knew of because I was new and I was young. So when I left that relationship, um, it was what happened. As I said, it was sexual abuse throughout my whole relationship. But that last incident was flat out rape. Like
Oh,
he wasn't hiding anything.
yeah.
And I don't remember the majority of the nights. So the next morning when I woke up, I knew something is that wasn't okay. I looked at him and I did not see the man I love. I fully saw a monster. I went to work that day. very confused of what happened, but my nervous system, my gut feeling was telling me. I said no. I pushed away. Everything was not okay. And I started thinking like, I need to leave. If this is the love I'm receiving, then it's gonna get worse because it's getting worse. But how do I leave? I don't know. And I still love him because my love is genuine. His love is
Uh-huh.
not, but mine is.
Yeah.
Um, I was lucky enough that during that week at school, I was in CEGEP at the time. University students came in to do a workshop. And this is why conversations are so important. And this is what Women Aware is doing now, talking about consent and what consent looks
Ah,
like in
yeah.
every relationship, but especially in a romantic relationship. And that's something I wasn't aware of. I wasn't aware you can say no to a partner and it's okay because I thought I owe them to be intimate with them if I love them. So I was sitting in the back of the class and they were talking about how if you were guilted into it, if you said no and they continued and it's in a relationship, it is considered a crime. It is not okay. And that's when like a light bulb came up to kind of give a title to what I was feeling.
Yeah. Here's one thing I say to my daughters. I have 2 young daughters, and this
Mhm.
is what we say amongst us. No is a full sentence. And
100%.
and once you understand that and grasp it fully, no
Hmm.
is a full
A
sentence.
full
You're allowed to
sentence.
say no, and if
Hmm.
someone goes above and beyond your no and your boundary,
It's a
it's
huge
not
red
okay.
flag. It's your
Yeah.
you need to walk away. And I always say, in the absence of yes is not a yes. So, and the absence of no is not a yes. So you need to
Mhm.
hear a yes, a very genuine, happy, comfortable yes. So I definitely did not say that. And when I left that class, that's when I realized it's time. I can't stay. But something I always say, survivors usually very rarely leave on the first time they think they plan on leaving. It happens, but not as often. And it's okay because a lot of them feel shame of going back. I went back 3 times. The third time was my last. And every time I went back, it was shorter and shorter because I was awake. Because it's an addiction. And this is
It
why
is.
always say it to survivors. For a survivor to leave, I said it to myself, is that he broke me down to absolute pieces. My identity is attached to him. So if I leave right now, I'm leaving with an empty shell because the identity I had before him is gone. And the identity I have now attached to him, once I leave him, it stays with him. It's gone. So to leave, what a survivor needs to do is look around the floor and pick up some pieces of their identity that broke down and at least build feet to be able to walk because
Yes.
then you're walking empty. So I didn't stay long enough after the realization, but I stayed long enough to build those feet of mine so that I can walk away. And it was really, really hard and it was really, really scary because if I realized it, that I was afraid that he's realizing I realized it. And I wasn't sure what he's gonna do to kind of blind me down again. So I left by waking up one day and saying, I can't do this anymore. I texted him, I'm done. And I turned off my phone.
Blocked
I
him.
was lucky. Yeah. I didn't block him. I just turned it off. So if he
Okay.
calls me, it goes automatically. I was lucky I lived with my parents and I knew he was too afraid to come to my family's house. I have a brother, I have a father that would get physical with him if they know what happened. So I knew I was lucky in that sense that he couldn't show up to my house. I had that safety. But he knew where I worked and all of these things. So I took time off. I disappeared, so to say, for a while and I had my phone off. So I felt very empowered. And a few weeks went by and I started kind of the withdrawal and I needed him again. I called him, I'm sorry, you're right, blah, blah, blah. I went back. 2 weeks later, I left again. Few months went back and I missed him so much. I was alone. My family were away on vacation. I called him. He came. Very sweet, very nice. Again, we stayed for a week. And then I realized, like, no, this is it.
This is
And I
it.
walked away. I never looked back. But it does take few trials sometimes to be able to leave completely. And that's okay. That's okay. There's no shame in that because it's really, really hard. It's like it's like you're an addict to this person. You're very thirsty and they have a water bottle that you think it's the only one and they drop little by little to keep you alive just a little bit, but addicted to that water bottle that they're providing.
Hmm. I like that you mentioned that it was okay to
Yeah,
relapse, and it's okay, and it's part of the journey, and it's
it
part of
is.
finding your feet, and it's
Mm-hmm.
parting to finding your legs and to
Mm-hmm.
walk again,
A
and then your
hundred percent.
strength and your self-esteem.
100%.
Allie, we're gonna take a short break and come back, and we're gonna talk about the other side of the cycle of abuse, because I wanna know what happened after you took that
Mm-hmm.
final decision. So, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Women's Spark podcast with Shanik. We're here with Allie from the womenaware organization. They have a vision to see a community free of abuse. They were founded in 1995. So, over the past 20 plus years, they've achieved their mission through the development of several programs run independently and in conjunction with other organizations. Today, we're talking about the cycle of abuse with Allie. Please welcome back, Allie. Hi.
Hello. Thank
Hi.
you. Hello, hello.
We talked about the cycle of abuse and your story. Can you tell the listeners what they can look forward to in terms of positive when they cross the bridge?
Yes. Thank you for asking this. It's really, really important. It's not dark afterwards, even though it seems like it could be and it might be in the beginning. It's a very hard journey, the post separation. And I do want to acknowledge I was privileged that I was able to leave that relationship safely. Um, Leaving a relationship can be very, very dangerous. So we need to make sure that the survivor is ready and they need to take that without any pressure from their loved one or the community because they're the one who's going to deal with the consequences. So post separation or the time you're leaving is a very dangerous time. However, it's worthwhile. It's worth to be able to leave and be free of that relationship and to rebuild yourself and your life. I took that summer. I was very depressed. I was very scared. I didn't understand. The mistake I made is that I didn't tell anybody. Nobody knew anything that happened at all. They just thought I broke up with him and I'm just depressed about that.
Okay.
Actually, my family didn't know until like 4 years ago that I told
Okay.
them.
Oof.
Yeah. Or like the extent of what it was. But I didn't know. And my best friend only found out 2 years later. So I really didn't tell anybody. The only person that knew was a police tech student at John Abbott College, who I reached out for help anonymously, who went for a coffee with me, and I explained what happened. And he was the only person that knew what happened. And I don't know this man. I don't remember his name, but I remember his face, and I'm very grateful for him. But he was the only person that knew. I needed to talk to somebody without going to the police.
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
don't
to
I
kind of
don't
have an idea.
understand how you didn't talk to anyone about it, because that
No,
must have felt very scary.
it was really, really scary. And I did go to the police station, but I pretended it was just a story of somebody or like I'm doing a project. I'm pretty sure the police officer knew it was me because they were trying like, oh, they should report, they should all that. But I didn't. Some people do, and that's okay. My journey, I decided not to do anything. And I was really young. I was really young. I was 20 at the time, 21, and I had no idea how things work here in Canada. But when I left, I was very depressed. I was very sad. I was unsure of what happened. I think something that we have now that I didn't have back then is that we have people talking about IPV and DV and the cycle. So we have a community that's now more vocal. And that's really, really important because I felt alone. I felt like I was the only one and that something is wrong with me because, like, why did it happen to me? Um, but I worked really hard to get out of a dark place. So I kept myself sitting in my room in the basement, but because I really didn't want to see people, I didn't want to do anything. I was very depressed. But I started painting again, which is one of my hobbies that I stopped during my abusive relationship. So I started painting the wall again. I drew things that matter to me. I played with paint. I spent my whole summer just doing that in my room, and it was kind of healing to me. Um, I was able to go back to school and then I started to feel a bit more comfortable with myself. I didn't reach out to any professional help again because I didn't know. I didn't know what's available to me. So I really did it on my own. Just kind of talking to myself, remembering like this is not okay, what's okay to me, sitting with myself for long hours and really talking about with myself about what boundaries am I willing to set for myself. I had no boundaries with this relationship. And I started to talk about these to myself. And I took time to myself in the sense like I didn't date, I didn't go out to see people, like romantically. I spent time just with friends because obviously in an abusive relationship you're isolated. So a lot of my friends stopped seeing them or talking to them. So I rebuild those friendships and those relationships. I spend time with my family more. I have 3 siblings and I put effort into spending time with them and rebuilding a relationship with them because nobody understood why I was so away and I was disappeared. And they didn't understand at the time still. I just blamed it like, oh, I was always with him or I was with school. So now I have more time that I'm single, which obviously people didn't like. Um, but I really put effort into these relationships and into myself. I wanted help. I wanted professional help because I knew I needed therapy.
Yeah.
I just didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to speak to. I didn't know how to ask my parents for that because I'm going to explain why do I need it. We are a Middle Eastern family, so sometimes my personal business is not my personal business. So they will ask
Yeah.
questions that I wasn't willing to answer. Um, but what I also start doing, and this is something I would always thank Dr. Catherine Richardson, a professor at Concordia, an Indigenous professor. Um, I think in a way she saved me, even when she doesn't realize. She sat down one time and she said, write a paper about resilience, how you was like,
Mm.
how you showed up for yourself in one way or another. And I didn't know what to speak about. I was like, oh, I don't think I did anything like, and at least in my teenage and adult life. And then I was like, maybe I'll speak about my abusive relationship. I don't know what resilience looks like because I stayed. And then I wrote down that paper and she told me, just write down things that you look back and think you did to protect yourself. Leaving is not the only way to protect yourself.
No, of
And I was
course,
like, that's
because
an
before
interesting,
before
yeah.
leaving, actions are
You've done,
being done to
yeah.
you, so you have to
Hmm.
protect yourself then. So what did you do?
Exactly. So I wrote down that paper that I still have till this day, that I read over sometimes to feel the empowerment that I felt when I wrote it. I remember writing that I would pretend I have my period because he didn't know the cycle.
No,
So I would
of course
pretend
not.
I have my period. Yeah. I would pretend I have my period and I knew he would not touch me if I have it. And
So you
that
had a
was
really short
me.
cycle probably, eh? Every
Very
20,
short
21 days.
cycle. Yeah. Very irregular cycle.
Yes.
And and he believed it and good for him for believing me. And he wouldn't touch me. I was safe. I was able to be in his presence, but I was safe from the abuse that he was inflicting on me. And I didn't realize that was me fighting back, but that was me fighting back. Leaving is not the only way that I fought back. I would pretend sometimes I would pretend like I have like pimples in my mouth and it's like really like bad and it's painful, so he wouldn't want anything.
Oh no, herpes.
Exactly. So like,
Yeah.
maybe don't touch me, and he would be like, yeah, no, 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 like, no. So again, I'm doing these things that's not true, but he doesn't know or like even care to put time in because he
Mhm.
doesn't care about me. So it's not like he's caring if I'm in pain or not. So he would just not touch me. I would pretend that I'm like, I did something at home, or like my parents are so mad that I keep going out that now I'm, what's the word? Oh my God, grounded. That's the word I was
Yes.
looking for. So like, even though I was 19, but in a middle household, and he was from similar backgrounds. So he understood that, yeah, my parents, even though I'm an adult, it's not really, I still get grounded. I live in their household. So I was like, yeah, my dad is so bad. And my dad is so mad. I'm like, I'm running for the next few days, or like, I don't have access to my phone for the next 2 days. And this gives me the space of just, he doesn't even bother to text me because he knows no answer. So I did these little things that seems little, but honestly did protect me a lot because it reduced the times that the abuse happened, at least in some periods.
And maybe
And
de-escalated some moments where
Yes,
it could have gotten worse and you
worse.
could have been even more in danger. So
A
that
hundred
de-escalated
percent.
those
A
events.
hundred percent. And sometimes what I also did is that I let the abuse happen. And I know this is weird to say, but sometimes in some incident, I knew if I let this happen, I'm gonna prevent from that happening.
Absolutely. You saved yourself.
So yes. So I knew if I let level one of the abuse pass by, I'm preventing myself from going to level five. And I know the damage of level five. So that is
Oh,
also protecting yourself.
it's not
Yeah.
okay. You know what?
It's not okay.
Good for you for protecting yourself, but it's not
Mhm.
okay.
No.
And it's not okay in the sense that it just shouldn't happen. Goodness.
Exactly.
It
100%.
takes a weak person
Mhm.
to do that to someone, and it takes a very strong
100%.
person to
Survive
find a
it
way
or
to survive it and to find ways to protect yourself by letting yourself be hurt to not get hurt more. So
more.
you know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I just want to send you love. I just want to send you a ton of
Thank you. I
love
appreciate
because
it.
that's not okay. And for anyone who's listening, you deserve to be loved the right way by yourself and by the right people. So
100%. 100%.
can
And
I
thank you. I
ask
appreciate it.
you the the podcast name is A Woman's Spark. What was your spark? Because sometimes the spark is, if you're a mom, then your kids are your spark. But when you're 19, what was your spark to get out of the cycle of abuse?
I really love this question because I never thought about that spark, which is very interesting. I would say, oh, I don't want to get emotional. Oh no, I never thought about it. Now I'm thinking about it. Um, my sister, my youngest
Uh,
sister, she's 7 years younger than me, and growing up, she used to call me mommy number two.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And it
just hit
was
me.
her. Yeah. It was her because she was the only family member that met him. And the only family member that had some relationship with him because she was always with me. So he would see her sometimes. And I remember she was so young. Oh my God. She came to me in my bed, hugged me, and she's like, I don't like him. She's like, he scares me.
The
I don't
energy
like him.
spoke it's on its own.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, and she was like making fun of him some and as a kid, she's a child. She was elementary school at the time, I believe. She's like, I don't like him. And she looks at me, she's like, you're so beautiful. Like, why are you with him? And I started crying because I didn't know how to explain to her why I'm with him because I really had no logical reason anymore after what I saw and what happened to me. And she hugged me and loved me. She's like, I love you. And I
Ugh.
think that's when I realized I don't need his love. His love is not the only love, even though it feels like it is because he broke it down and isolated me. But I forgot that I actually have people that loves me so, so much. And I have a youngest sister who's looking, she always says I'm her role model. And there's no
Mm,
way, no
you
way I would want her to be in this relationship.
you don't
So I
want
was
that
like,
for
am
her.
I going to show her that her young, oldest sister is like withering down because of this quote unquote love? And it's not love. And I think that was kind of my, you need to get out. You need to get out for her, at least if it's not just for you. And throughout my healing journey, she was always there. And you made me realize she was always there. She was always checking up on me. I think in a way or another, she felt something was really, really wrong. And maybe because she met him and she got that energy from him. She never asked, but she was always there. She would come at night, cuddle me, and I cry in her arm. And she's a little kid.
Uh,
And I really think she was my spark. Until this day, she's my best friend. She's my soulmate. And in a way or another, I think she also played a huge factor in saving me from that.
that's there's always a one person, a one spark that gets us back up.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
obviously there's our own spark
Yeah.
of self-survival, but there's
Yeah.
always this one spark that usually is around us that
Yeah.
gets us back up.
Yeah.
Um, hindsight is 2020. You didn't speak to anyone around you. For listeners who are listening, Would you recommend that, or who would you recommend people speak to?
I 100% recommend to speak to somebody. 100%. And don't wait as much as I waited. It made it harder. Um, Speak to people you trust. And I know it's hard to come out of a relationship where trust is broken. So this is something actually I would speak to the non-survivors who are listening. Make sure you're a safe person. If you are somebody who wants to help survivors, because you most likely know a survivor even if you don't know. It's like you said, it's 1 in 3.
Yeah.
So I'm 3 sisters and 1 brother. 2 of us are survivors. So it's 1 in 3 minimum. And to be a safe person, have no judgment. Don't ask questions. Why did you not leave? That's a very harmful question to ask.
Mm,
Instead, say something like you said to me, I'm very sorry. This was not okay. You're so strong for speaking to me. I'm very grateful that you thought of me, and I love you and I care about you and I'm here however you need me to be. This is a safe place for you. I will
mm,
never judge you. I never lived through it. I don't understand it, but I know that it is not okay.
mm.
And that's really, really important. For me, I needed to find somebody that would not judge me because I felt ashamed and embarrassed that this happened.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
and it's not your fault, but you
You
feel it.
we wanna be the perfect daughter, the perfect
Mhm.
friend,
Friend.
sister, and so
Exactly.
on. So when
Exactly.
you go to people you know, there's a chance that I don't know, there's a barrier there.
100%. And
So
especially when you hear you're so strong, you're so mature. So, like, if I'm so strong and I'm so mature, how did I let this happen to me? And I feel embarrassed to say that.
that's it.
And, but it's not true. Survivors are very, very strong. They're not weak people. And that's why this happened to them. One of the strongest people, and it can still happen to you. So, it's not about your strength and your maturity. But it took time for me to realize that. And, so also don't say that. Don't ask like you're so strong. How did that happen? Because it's not on me or on the survivor. But I think it's really important to find people you feel safe with, you feel that you're not being going to be judged for, to be heard. And maybe this is also why Women Aware is a very important organization. And this is me speaking biasly and objectively, because Women Aware is run by survivors. So this is something that's not available in every organization, although everybody, the majority of people who work in the field are very qualified and they understand. But there's a difference when there is a survivor speaking to another survivor, because we lived through it. And that lived
Yeah.
experience is very, very important. It breaks that barrier of isolation and feeling like you're alone. Nobody
Well,
else
you feel
went through that.
seen and understood
Exactly.
immediately,
Immediately.
and there's no connection to feel judged because this person has lived through it, so you can
Exactly.
connect immediately with that person.
100%. 100%. You're not afraid of the judgment. And that's, I think, the biggest barrier. And another thing is, I think in some cases, it's easier to speak to a professional, so maybe a therapist or a counselor or a social worker, and be honest with them rather than a family member or a loved one. Because beside the fact that you feel like you're going to be embarrassed and ashamed and everything, in my personal experience, I wasn't willing to speak to my parents at least, because I knew if my mom and my dad heard this, the pain they would be feeling,
Mhm.
the guilt they would be feeling. And I was like, I don't want to put this on them. I don't want them to feel that way. So I was again thinking about their feeling more than I was thinking about mine, which a
Yeah.
lot of us do that.
A lot of
But
women do that.
exactly. A lot of
Yeah.
women do that. And it's okay to feel those feelings. It's okay to care about how it's going to impact your loved ones. And that's why maybe if you're not ready for that, go to a professional, because my therapist, I love her. I know she cares about me, but she cares about me to the level of her profession. So she's
Yes.
not going to walk away with my baggage and think about it and impact her life. So it's a safer exchange of service.
Mhm.
Whereas with your family, the weight might fall on them and they're going to feel heavy. But again, you should go to your family. They should be there. And when I did finally open up to my family, even though it was years later, it still did the same thing. My mom cried. My dad was sitting there staring at the wall. He's like, how did I fail to not protect you? And then I just hugged them. That's all I did. I was like, it's
Here's one
okay.
thing I retain from what you've said, though. You did go to your family.
I did.
Without telling them, you did go to your family. They became your shelter. You didn't have to
100%.
tell them. and they were
No.
there to help you when you needed them the most.
Yes.
So take a level of guilt off your
Yeah.
shoulders. To the listeners, go to your family. You don't have to tell them anything. Find someone to speak to. It doesn't have to be your family, but find a safe place.
100%. 100%. You don't have to. And a lot of our survivors, they don't.
No.
So they would leave, they would go stay with their family. They would just say they're having a hard time personally and they need to be around their loved ones. They will, whether it's friends, family, coworkers, buddy at the gym that you have this connection with. There are survivors who literally called a cell phone company and they
Yep.
just cried on the phone. And the person like asked what's wrong. And then she told them what's wrong. And he was there for her. And this is a
That's it.
complete stranger. But people do care. People are going to listen and they want to help you. It's your barrier that's going to make it harder for you to open because of everything that you're feeling. And that's valid. But like you said, yes, I was very privileged that I had a family that did care for me a lot and were there for me without realizing what was happening. I had a brother that took time and played basketball with me because he realized I was depressed, even though he didn't understand why. And I had friends that forgave me for being away from them for a very long time and neglecting that friendship. So
Yeah.
this is really also important. If your friend is kind of, distancing themselves while they're in a relationship, please have a space of understanding. Even if you don't protect yourself, I'm not telling you to stay. You have your boundaries and you have your needs, and that's very valid. But leave a place that they can maybe return to you because maybe they're in a place where they're in an abusive relationship and you're not aware of that. And one day they'll come back, and one day they're going to need that space of understanding and grace that this wasn't their fault, but they had to do what they needed to do to
Yeah.
survive what they're going through. So it took time, but I did have an army behind me that I wasn't, like you said, I wasn't that aware that I had it. And slowly I was telling people, not the full truth, but a little bit here, a little bit there. And that was me testing who's a safe person because I
Yeah.
want to see the judgment that's coming out. And I was lucky that the majority of my friends and my family didn't have that judgment. They just had the worry and the sadness that I went through that.
And now they're probably a lot more aware and are going to be a bit even more careful.
Yes.
Ali, before we conclude our first podcast together on women abuse, would you like to tell us how you remained the best version of yourself through your cycle of abuse?
I promised myself at a very young age that I will never change for anybody.
Uh-huh.
I will not change myself. I am a very kind, I'm very loving. I love unconditionally. And I love these things about me. I love these things about me. And through it all, I kept reminding myself of that there are things in me as a person that I really, really love. And it's the reason why I had good friends. I have good family. Um, I've always had good relationship with teachers and all that because I'm a genuine person. I'm a kind person. And I was so angry at the world. I was so angry at him. And why is this happening? And that's normal to start feeling maybe I should change. Maybe I should be, you know,
Different.
different. And I never allowed myself to do that because I wanted to love the person that I am naturally who I am. And I'm not going to let somebody's darkness to take
Uh,
over my sunshine. So I kept being the bubbly person that I am, the sunshine that I am. And sometimes, some days it's really, really hard, but it's something I love about myself. So I think that's the biggest thing that I had is that no matter what, I had a huge love for myself in all my imperfections and all my flaws. I needed to be my biggest lover.
cheerleader.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
biggest cheerleader.
Because you're perfect as you are.
Yeah,
And it's not because someone's shaken you that you should be any different. It's just about
exactly.
setting boundaries and understanding that this shouldn't happen again. Make the
Exactly.
necessary changes, not within
Exactly.
yourself, but
No.
necessary changes and boundaries so that it
Yeah.
doesn't replicate again.
Exactly. Your core values and what you stand for should not change because somebody, like you said, shake them or abused them or took advantage of them. That's who you are. And the right person would love that about you. And it will help them be a better person because of how a good person and how loving and caring you are. But I definitely sat down and taught and really worked hard with therapists and within myself to talk about why I why what happened there that I was okay with crossing these boundaries of understanding the cycle of abuse. Of course, that really
Yeah.
helped me a lot. Understand that it wasn't my fault; it was that person. But I also realized that I have some other things that I needed to work through that I wasn't aware of. So,
Mhm.
in one way or another, I wish nobody goes through that abusive relationship. I wish I didn't go through it. But I always look at the world in a positive way, no matter what. So
Yeah.
there was some positive thing that came out of that journey because of where I am right now, because of how stronger I became and the community I've built. But you don't need to go through that to be that because you're strong from the get-go.
Thank you so much, Allie. Thank you for sharing your journey, and thank you for sharing what you see every day with other survivors. We've broached the cycle of abuse on this podcast, but on our next one, we're going to talk to another survivor of abuse who's going to talk to us about post-relationship healing, which we've broached a little bit on this podcast, but you definitely don't want to miss this one because it's a huge part, and it can take, yet again, weeks, months, and years to obtain. So thank you again, Allie.
Thank you for
This
having
is
me.
to all you fighters and warriors out there, get inspired and keep the focus on how important you are too. This is it for us for today. Tune in every week on your favorite podcast platform. If you want to get involved with the Be Guided, Be Inspired community and you want to share what kind of impact you've had on others because of your experiences, or you're currently going through a tough time, come and meet us on the platform at www.beguidedbeinspired.com. Write us and we'll connect together. Or also go to the website, Womenaware. Thank you, Allie. Thank you, you
Thank you.
sparkling women out there. See you next time. Love to you all. Bye.